Folks, we're going to be going live at about 7:15. So if you could please just let me know in the chat if you could hear me, that would be fantastic and really helpful for me. I can't wait to talk to everybody about what happened in East Lansing. Just beyond excited about what we're about to be able to talk about here as I mess with my levels a little bit. So looking forward to let me know if you guys could hear me. How you doing, everybody? I'm Ken Bykoff, and welcome to the Peegs Postgame Live. The Hoosiers 47-10 winners over Michigan State in East Lansing. The Hoosiers went on the road, spotted the Spartans 10 points, and then just dominated the rest of the way as Indiana's dream season continues. I'm Ken Bykoff, and I'm going to be on with you for as long as you folks want to talk about this win. It's going to be a fun one. Lines are open. 812-393-2600 is the number. We'll give you guys a little bit of time. Let me know on the chat if you could still hear me, and everything is fine with that. But let's talk about this Indiana team and just kind of what they've already kind of accomplished here. 9-0 for the first time in season history in IU history. The Hoosiers are just dominating opponents on the road, at home, mid major teams, high major teams. Everything has just been incredible. I will admit, the Hoosiers got off to the 10-0 deficit. First time they've given up points in the first quarter. First time that they've faced a deficit all season, which is jaw dropping. And there's that old IU part of me that was like, oh, they're on the road. This could be a very, very different situation. And then Kurt Signetti and his crew showed exactly how dominant they're going to be in this season. They stepped up and did everything that they needed to do to win this ball game. 47 unanswered points. You want offense? How about Curtis Rourke? Less than 2 weeks after thumb surgery, 19 of 29 passing, 263 yards, and 4 touchdowns. On the day, he was barely touched. The offensive line just absolutely slapped Michigan State around, which was just really great to see if you're a Hoosier fan. Think about this rushing game. 122 yards on the day, 32 carries, 122 yards. There isn't a single running back for the Hoosiers that went over 32 yards. Justice Ellison had 9 carries for 32 yards. In this game, you would think, wow, this on the road, that is struggling, but it's not. When you have so many different weapons at your disposal, Indiana was able to grind out yards. How about the fact that Indiana doesn't have a 100-yard receiver? In fact, the only receiver that the Hoosiers have, Keyshawn Williams, had 6 catches for 86 yards, and he led the Hoosiers in receptions. But Elijah Surratt, 4 catches, 59 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Miles Price, 3 catches, 42 yards, a touchdown. Zach Horton, 1 catch, touchdown. This is an Indiana offense that absolutely distributes the ball all over the field, and it was just a ton of fun to watch offensively. You want to talk defense? That's fine. Indiana gives up those 10 points early on. In the first quarter, the Hoosiers. Let's see if I could go ahead and find real quick what the comparison is here. I'm lucky enough to have the very nice stats program. Uh, in the first quarter, Michigan State outscored Indiana 10-0, outgained them 128-52. That's pretty incredible. You throw in the fact that, get this, this is not a typo. Indiana in the second half gave up 27 yards to the Spartans. 27 yards. In other words, Michigan State did not gain enough yardage to go from home plate to first base because that's 30 yards. And for the entire second half, in 12 minutes and 41 seconds, Michigan State had the ball. They would not have reached first base from home plate. So that means that Indiana's defense was a hell of a lot better than what the Yankees did in covering first base over this past week. Which screw the Yankees, I'm not worried about them. But Indiana outgains Michigan State in the second half, 189-27. Michigan State, folks, rushes for negative 24 yards. Negative 24 yards. 205 total yards for the Spartans on the day, again, including just 27 in the second half. You want special teams? Sure, let's talk special teams. How about 2 blocked punts? How about two block punts? And in fact, with the defense, they get a couple of turnovers, they get a couple of interceptions that they're able to grab. They forced another fumble. All three phases of the game was absolutely dominant in East Lansing, and it was really something to see, to say the least. 812-393-2600 is the number. Uh, Nicholas says number 11 Iowa State lost. We're moving on up. Hell, they should have moved on up last week. And I think a lot of IU fans are starting to get real frustrated with the fact that the people who rank the teams want to come up with all kinds of excuses why Indiana shouldn't be higher up in the rankings. They haven't played a ranked team. They haven't this, that, and the other. Indiana's 9-0 in the Big Ten. They've beaten every opponent that's been set up in front of them in the Big Ten, and they haven't just kind of beat them. They've beat the hell out of them, every single one of them. Go on the road, put up 47 points against a Michigan State team that nearly beat Michigan last week, and I fully believe Indiana's going to end up beating Michigan next week as well. You don't have you're out of excuses on why Indiana shouldn't be moving up in the rankings. Number 13, they belong in the top 10. It's that simple. I am not a big fan of the rankings to begin with because too much of it is based off of preseason projections where people are trying to predict which will be the best teams and not focused on what is the actual best teams. And it's hard to move up if teams don't move down, or people believe, well, you know what, they had a bad week, they haven't been good, but it says Penn State on their chest or whatever it is. Penn State's not the best example because they are actually a good top 10 team, but some of these other ball clubs don't belong at the spot in the rankings where they are, and Indiana does. People better start understanding that this is a real good good football team. Indiana deserves to be moving up, and it's incredibly exciting. Uh, 812-393-2600 is the number. We have our first caller of the day. Caller, if you give me your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Hey, it's Alex from Pendleton, and man, just on that note, man, where you left off, I gotta say, man, people say, act like you've been there before, but man, we ain't never been here before. This is crazy. Like I hear people come on the show all the time, and they're kind of nitpicking here and there. Well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Well, dude, like my mind is blown. Like week after week, it's just I'm dreaming, man. I'm dreaming. It's like incredible. I can't believe it. Decades of watching this team suffer and just fall flat on their face year after year. It's just I have no words, man. This coach comes in, he starts calling a shot from full court and he made it. Like it just like how do you do that, man? How do you do that with a program like Indiana where you start from scratch basically? You had a 3-9 season last year or something like that, and you come in undefeated off the bat after talking all that crap. It's just like remarkable, man. Remarkable. Like I just had to say that, man.
You say
Great game.
you say you don't have words. Let me ask you, what concerns you about this team?
Absolutely nothing, man. Absolutely nothing.
That's
I
how
mean,
I feel too. My thing coming into this game was they haven't faced that struggle of being down. How are they going to come back when things don't go their way? Well, we saw what happens today. We saw absolutely what happens. Again, all three phases are dominant. I'm at a loss as well, man. I feel you.
just imagine a matchup with Oregon. Like, I hate to say it, but like, I don't see anything stopping this team. Yeah, I think we can hang with anybody. People keep saying the true test. Da, da, da. You know, ultimately the season for the regular season is going to be Ohio State, but you saw them struggle against, uh, Penn State today. They're both struggling to put up points for a while, and they finally, ran away with it. But you can't tell me Indiana wouldn't have put up 35 at least on OSU today. I mean, I don't know, man. It's just I don't know. I'm a long time listener, first time caller. So I mean, I just had to say that, man. I just had to get off my chest. Like this team deserves all the recognition, all the accolades. Hopefully, Curtis Work will get some more Heisman looks and stuff. But Can't believe it, man. I hope it keeps rolling, man. Hope it keeps rolling. I'll let you go though, man. Thanks for having me on.
I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. And I think he echoes a lot of what a lot of people say. I mean, it's so strange to me. Again, I did the call-in show on the IU Radio Network for 13 years, and year after year after year, watching this team struggle, watching them have problems. Uh, you could nitpick all over the place. I really struggle with this team, and I am certainly I've been accused of being a homer, and I've been accused of being too negative. So that must mean I'm doing something right. But this one, I don't think it's a homer situation. I don't think this is a cream and crimson colored glasses. What do you pick apart? I mean, even if you look at the fact that Indiana had 32 carries for only 122 yards rushing, it wasn't like they really dominated on the ground. They still averaged 3.8 yards a carry and did a really great job. It's offense, defense, special teams, all the way through it. It's been amazing. ROK Hoosier on the chat says, I'm still living in a football dream. After decades of IU football PTSD, I'm working on vanishing my fears. Yeah, it takes time. But if you look at this coaching staff, Indiana's down 10 to nothing. If the coaching staff looks at those players and says, it's okay. We're going to be all right. Why wouldn't they believe him? Literally everything the man said since he came on day one has come true. So you want to talk about a team that believes this is it right now. 812-393-2600 is the number. I believe we may have Ryan on the line. Ryan, how are you doing this weekend?
Ken, it's good to see you. I'm good. What a great win. There's just one singular word that describes this game for me, and it's wow. I mean, the Hoosiers, they are national championship contenders. I'm not afraid to say it. Hoosier Nation should realize that they shouldn't be afraid to say it. We now control our own destiny to get into that Big Ten championship game. And I mean, it's a great day to be a Hoosier fan. We had a couple of questions going into this game, most notably, how we would respond if we went down. And we went down. It was a little bit of a scary start, but Spartan Stadium came out with some overrated chants. We decided we were done messing around. 47 unanswered points is quite a response. And the defense had their best game of the year. The team group was all over the place making plays. It's an exciting time.
Again, you look at that. You mentioned about the defense, their best game. They gave up 27 yards in the second half, and again, that's not gaining yardage to go from from home plate to first base. It's really extraordinary. I mean, they ran for 14 times for a loss of 39 yards in the second half. Ryan, it really is jaw dropping.
Yeah, what a win.
It is special. Thank you so much for the call, Ryan. Really appreciate it. Again, this is a thing that you run out of things to say because it really is amazing, but it's so much fun. It's so much fun to watch after this is what people have been dying for, and they absolutely fans have been hoping for a successful program. Is beyond their and wildest imagination. Here it is. It is November. Indiana is still undefeated, 9-0 for the first time in school history. They've won the first 9 games. In 1945, they went 9-0-1, but they didn't. Those 9 wins didn't come all in the first 9 weeks. They had that tie. So first time you get to 9-0, and Indiana has rolled. Nebraska 56-7, Michigan State 47-10. This is the biggest margin of victory. Most points Indiana's ever scored against Michigan State, 37 points. Um, the margin of victory is the largest in IU history, in this series history for Indiana. It's jaw dropping, and they didn't score in the first quarter. I mean, it's really something. 21 points in the second quarter, 12 points in the third quarter, 14 points in the fourth quarter. It is just really extraordinary. And Cameron says on the chat, great game. I'm glad we had the opportunity to play from behind. Massive performance from both the offensive and defensive lines. And Cameron, you mentioned the opportunity to play from behind. I completely agree. I completely agree. This was an IU team that hadn't really faced much adversity at all. And they maybe had a couple of games that were close in the third quarter, but then they stretched it out. But here you are, you're on the road, you're down 10-0 heading into the second quarter. Played what might be your worst quarter of the season in the first quarter on the road in a game where after you beat Washington last week, you have Michigan coming up next week. What are you going to do? What's your response going to be? And the response is 47 unanswered points. And a guy who had surgery less than 2 weeks ago, throwing for 263 yards. Just a dominant performance by this Hoosier team. 812-393-2600 is the number. Uh, Indiana, again, 9-0 on top in the Big Ten. Uh, Going to be moving up in the rankings. They have to. I mean, it's time for people to start believing. And it is, and not just IU fans to believe. You look at this Big Ten. Uh, Indiana is on top and tied at 6-0 with the number one team in the nation. Ohio State is at ranked number 4 after beating the number 3 team, so they will definitely move up in the rankings. Uh, this is an Indiana team that has absolutely taken care of business, and uh, they have Michigan next week, which it says Michigan on their chest, but it's not the Michigan that we've come to know over the years. That Wolverine team sits at 5-4 right now, 3-3 on the season. Indiana's going to be favored in that one, and I mean you can look at the standings, and I fully admit Indiana has not played Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, any of those teams that are in the upper half of the Big Ten. But you play the conference opponents that you have, and they've just hammered every single one of them by at least 2 touchdowns. And that has been really extraordinary. They'll be favored against Michigan. I don't expect that they will be favored against Ohio State in Columbus, but they're going to be favored against Purdue, probably by quite a bit. So you're looking at, a team that if they don't finish 11-1, think about how crazy this is. If they don't finish 11-1, you're going to be really disappointed, aren't you? And that's a huge change from what you were at the start of the season. Because, look, if Indiana would lose out, God forbid that would happen. I don't expect that to happen. But let's say they finish the season 9-4. That's still one of the most successful seasons in IU history. And I just love the way Signetti and his staff keep going about this game in, game out. It's fantastic. Trenjamin Button on the chat says they're so balanced. You look at any other team other than Oregon, and there's some obvious issue. Ohio State quarterback, Penn State quarterback, Miami defense, Georgia's quarterback play, Texas's defense. These games, as they stack week over week, makes you just dream. Why not? Why not Indiana? Because it is every step of the way, every phase of the game. I mean, Curtis Rourke was fantastic coming back from the thumb injury. The defense is just absolutely dominating, plain and simple. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Special teams, you block a couple of punts on the road. It's really extraordinary, just how well they're playing, and um, it's got to make you smile. It's not great for calls, I'll tell you that, because lines are wide open. 812-393-2600 is the number, and I'd love to hear from you. If you're sitting out by your fire pit, it's a beautiful fire pit night. Sitting out, enjoying your favorite beverage, uh, enjoying a victory cigar, whatever it is that you do to celebrate a Hoosier win. I know that you're doing it right now. I really appreciate the people that are listening. Um, the people who are going to be listening on the recording, I'll throw this in right now. I can't play this live, obviously, especially with them on the road. I can't play it live on the podcast. However, rather on the live show, but for the podcast, here's head coach Curt Cignetti during his post-game press conference from East Lansing. And that little pause allows me to drop that in for the podcast. I hope you subscribe to the Peegs podcast. Looking forward to starting the Peegs postgame live after basketball games, too, because that's coming up. First show will be Wednesday following Indiana's regular season opener. But right now we're focused on football. And how can you not be? 812-393 2,600 is the number. Trenchman also says Notre Dame's pretty balanced too. I don't know what I'd do if IU played Notre Dame. It'd be a win-win, but I'd be definitely pulling for IU. Um, again, I have been so blown away. Let's say, this is an Indiana team that's averaging 47 points a game, for God's sake. And if they're struggling offensively, does that drop to 28 points? I don't know. And this defense, as good as it is, great angles, never hang their head after a bad play. They never struggle to um, to overcome mistakes. That to me has everything to do with the head coach and the coaching staff and everything that goes along with it. Kurt Signetti, has to be the front runner for National Coach of the Year. I know that people are waiting for him to win, over a ranked team or whatever it is. They're 9-0. This is a program that had won 9 games in the previous 3 seasons combined, and now they're sitting here at 9-0. To do that, to turn a program around like that is just jaw dropping. To turn around a program that is the losingest program in college football history in terms of total losses is mind blowing. And I've always said this is an Indiana program whose fans so desperately wanted them to be great. And now that it's here, it's really, really something else. 812-393-2600 is the number. We got a caller on the line. Caller, if you could go ahead and let me know your name, where you're from, and what you got.
This is Peggy Grant, and I'm in Hendersonville, North Carolina. I had the privilege of being at IU when we went to the Rose Bowl. I'm so excited. I am out myself, and I really believe this team could actually go 12-0. I really believe this team could beat Ohio State.
You may well be right because this defense is really something else. Just how good they have been this year, and I absolutely put them up on against anyone else. Is there anything that concerns you about this team?
Not a thing. As long as Papa is at quarterback, not a thing. They are so balanced on both sides of the ball. It is just fantastic.
It has been a ton of fun to watch, and if you're up at 7:43 Eastern in North Carolina watching the game, enjoying it, and listening to the show, which thank you so much. I'm so thrilled to be able to that you're able to hear it. If I was just on the regular radio, you wouldn't be able to hear this, but. How exciting is it for you just to be able to watch this week after week? Because I'm sure if you were in school during the Rose Bowl, you've watched as much bad football as I have over the years. It just has to be like a fantasy. This is Indiana did to Michigan State what Michigan State and other teams have normally done to Indiana.
Yes, I mean, it's just, well, I don't even have words sometimes about this. I wasn't expecting today to be this excited. I got concerned when we were down, zip to 10, and then I couldn't have been. Uh, I hope we can keep this coach, and I think we will, actually. I think I think he's going to stay. I think he's going to uh, develop a dynasty at IU. And that, to say that, is just unbelievable.
Well, thank you so much for the call. I really appreciate it, and I think that you are exactly right. I hope that you call in after a win over Michigan and a win over Purdue as we have a couple of more games coming up, and Ohio State too. So thank you so much for the call. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Go IU.
812-393-2600 is the number, and I can't argue with her at all. And again, this is an Indiana fan base that has a lot of scar tissue from the past years, and to see them fall behind 10-0 on the road was really something else. And just to rally. It's just absolutely incredible. Again, 812-393-2600. If she could call from North Carolina, you could call from where you're sitting. We have a call on the line. Caller, if you could go ahead and give me your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Hey, yeah, my name is Nicholas. I am calling from North, but I'm from Blooming. Mike.
Fantastic. We just went coast to coast, folks. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so of course all the origins of last year. But what I wanted to say is I'm actually one of the people that was not. I had no idea they'd go 9-0, right? But like, big game. Thought we could. Like, I believe. I don't know, maybe not this one. So I guess I'm not surprised. And let's
Absolutely.
let him.
Well, thank you so much for the call and enjoy everything that the trash talking you do with your Oregon folks up out there. I got to tell you, people talk about Kurt Signetti, pay him, make sure that he doesn't go anywhere, and I completely agree with that. My thing is, Kurt Signetti is 63 years old. He has bounced around during his 40 years here of being a coach. He has moved up the ladder. He obviously wins. You could just Google him and he'll find out. He is now leading what people are calling the Sig 10. He's at 5-0. This is a man who is seems happy in Bloomington. Says he's happy in Bloomington. Money talks, but money talks to only a certain extent. Because if he were 50 years old, I would be very concerned. At 63, you've moved your family a number of times. Yeah, Indiana's going to have to pony up, and that's fine. But Indiana is going to be willing to pony up for this level of success. And when you look at what he has rolling here, I just think that this is a high major program. He has a team that's probably going to be ranked in the top 10 next week. Has turned things around very quickly. I'm more concerned about his coordinators being poached than I am Kurt Signetti, but certainly the attention that's being given to him is fantastic, and it's really great for the program. It's just a ton of fun. This is so fun for me. Somebody from North Carolina to Oregon. Oh, what that's fantastic. JM asks on the chat, what's my prediction for the time and network of the IU Michigan game next Saturday? Great question. I'm thinking that they're going to want to put that probably in prime time. I obviously have no insight into that, what network, and that ain't going to be on Peacock. I can tell you that, and I'll be happy that it's not on Peacock because Peacock's feed was not great today. I know on my screen here in Bloomington or just outside of Bloomington, Ellisville, where I live, it is not. I was not thrilled with what I saw. And I mentioned on Twitter that it's kind of took me back to the over-the-air days watching the Sam Weish season in terms of picture quality at times. But it's interesting. Got another caller? Caller, give me your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Hi, my name is David. I'm from Bloomington. I was just thinking about how for 20 something years I've been watching these games. When IU wins in the past, it's the nail biter, it's the last second, it's the Michael Penix nylon. It's something where you're holding your breath to the very end and then it seems like a miracle and we win. And this season has just been the exact opposite of that. Every single win has been coasting in, right to the very end. But it's just like you've been saying, it's a surreal experience.
It's just been comfortable. It's been a comfortable season. And
The question for you, though, what do you think is going to be the toughest part about trying to beat Ohio State?
to me, the toughest part about beating Ohio State, they're obviously, a historic program and a blue blood, and not many teams beat them. But the toughest part is going to be just walking into the horseshoe and believing you have a chance to win. That has always been Indiana's problem on Saturdays. It has always been that the team hopes to win instead of expects to win. This year is different. because this team hits Saturday and expects to win. And I think that Kurt Signetti has done a great job of being able to just convince everybody to not worry about what's on the uniform across from them, but just go and play your game. If it's Nebraska, they're fine with it. They go out there and they dominate. So I think to me, the biggest thing is once you get in front of the 100,000 people, that you keep your poise, you keep your focus, you keep your belief not in just the coaching staff, but the guys who are next to you. If there are mistakes made, if there are some turnovers, you don't hang your head. We haven't seen that yet. And, hell, they hadn't trailed until today. But this is an Indiana team that has absolutely dominated in every way, shape, and form. So the toughest part for them, I think, is just going to start between the ears here and then just dealing with the overall speed of Ohio State.
Well, thanks. That's a great answer. I'll hang up and listen.
All right, I appreciate the call. Again, 812 393 2600 is the number. If you look at this Indiana team, too, this defense, they gave up 10 points today, gave up 17 last week against Washington, and 7 against Nebraska the week before. So you're looking at a team that has given up 34 points in 3 weeks. The Hoosiers have yet this season to give up more than 28 points in a game, and that was against Maryland in a game that they won comfortably. So all of these things come together to just make you believe that that this team is just going to be ready to play every time out. I think it's just fantastic for them to win. And here's a little inside fact for you. I even just overcame a little bit of adversity because while he was talking, I got just a brutal cramp in my hamstring and I wasn't even moving. So I'm overcoming things here in the Peegs Postgame Live studio. 812-393-2600 is the number. We got another caller. Caller, if you could give me oh my, oh, what did I just do? Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Um, I hit the wrong button and it says banned caller. Please, if you have a 260 number, please give me a call. Hopefully, I didn't accidentally ban you. Holy cow. That would not be my favorite here. So, hopefully, you give me a call back, 260 number. Please give me a call back, 812-393-2600. That was a huge mistake on my part. So, we're overturning a lot of things. Somebody's saying that the sound is horrible, and I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why. Is it just on callers or is it on me? That's what I need to know because everything on my sound says my side says that it's pretty good. But that's you guys know better than I do because I can't hear the feed out and about, but it's saying excellent connection and all that. So thank you, Jim. Let me know just what everybody is hearing on your end. It's quiet. Okay. Well, I could turn that up. I could crank it up a little bit. There you go. Me, I'm low. Wow. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you letting me know. This is a two-way street here. I again I can't hear myself on what it is. So please do that. Again, the number 812-393-2600 is the number. Please give me a call. And if you have that 260 number that you called in, I clearly screwed something up. So I'm so sorry, and I will unban your call whenever I'm able to because I feel really bad about that. I pressed the wrong button, and so here we go. All right, we got another phone call, 812-393-2600. Caller, if you give me your name, where you're from, and what you got.
This is Kristen from Chicago. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing? What part of Chicago?
Downtown.
Ah, okay. I used to live up in Vernon Hills years ago, right by Deerfield.
Yeah. Working on that job.
Very nice. What you got?
So, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but obviously we've been dominant. If we win out and we beat Oregon, are we number one in the nation?
Yeah, that's getting ahead of ourselves to say the least, which is kind of fun. That we could think about these things. But if you went out and you beat Oregon, I really think that if Georgia, I don't know. I think voters are going to have a tough time putting Indiana at the top spot. And here's my thing on this. There are two things that we're talking about. One of them is, does Indiana deserve to be ranked number one? The second
Right.
one is, are people going to be willing to put them at number one? And those are two very, very different things. And
So let me ask you this now. Are we better off losing to Ohio State? Would we get in the playoffs, or if we beat Ohio State and go to the Big Ten championship and lose to Oregon, are we out?
no, I think that if you beat Ohio State and you get to the Big Ten championship, you're going to the college football playoff. I really
Okay.
believe that. Now, again, if you beat Oregon, the number one team in the country, if they're number one at the time and you're moving up, there's a very possible, that they could get there. But again, to me, it's the voters and how they look at it. They're going to say, "Oh, it's Indiana. The only team that they've beaten is Ohio State and Oregon." So they'll come up with whatever excuse that they need. Is that me looking at this cynically? You're damn right I am, because
Yeah.
I just know that this is an Indiana team that was leapfrogged by Texas A&M last week, which was jaw dropping to me. And it's a one-loss team gets
And
leapfrogged.
they're losing right now.
Yeah, I mean, so look, this is I worry about that, but in terms of college football playoff, I honestly think that if Indiana is able to beat Ohio State, they're gonna go into the college football playoff. If they, we'll have to see how it all plays out. I do know that if you have Indiana, Oregon, Penn State, and Ohio State, that is four of the top 12, the top uh, 12 teams in the college football playoff. I worry in that situation that they won't let Indiana in.
And if you look at the standard of it, I mean, instead of looking at the teams that Indiana has beaten, they beat the crap out of Nebraska, right? Nebraska wouldn't play Ohio State hard. They've beaten a bunch of teams that have played other teams in the Big Ten hard. And I just think it's possible, ranking to start looking at that, right?
Oh, sure, absolutely, absolutely. I completely agree with you. I also know how the rankings work and how people go about things. And if it says Ohio State on your chest, it means more than if it says Indiana on your chest. That's just how it
Yeah.
works. And that's unfortunate, but that's the world we live in. And so Indiana, if they win out, they'll obviously be able to get in. But it's that Ohio State game is going to be an excuse if they would go to Columbus and lose. It doesn't make a difference if it's a close game or if they get blown out. People will say, well, it is, see, they played a top ranked team and they lost. So they'll use that as an excuse in their own head for their mental gymnastics. That's
So then
my
we're out.
concern.
We lose at Columbus, we're out.
I don't know that. That's my fear. That's my fear, because I
Yeah.
just have concerns about the biases that are, like Jim says on the chat, the brand bias. That is a concern of mine.
Okay. Well, appreciate the time. It's obviously a good time to be a producer, and we'll just
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. 812-393-2600 is the number. Uh, we have, let's see. Why does it say five? Something's going on here now, because this is saying that there are, it says busy 6, 7 call. Okay, well, gosh, I got to fix that blocked thing. I feel so bad. I feel so bad. Jim also says on the chat, Notre Dame has no business being ranked ahead of Indiana. Notre Dame at 7-1 with that loss to Northern Illinois, and the other teams they've beaten are a 24th ranked Navy team, Georgia Tech, Stanford, Louisville, which was 15 at the time. Miami. Well, I don't disagree, but hey, and they beat Texas A&M in the first game of the season. That's another thing that I have a problem with the rankings. It has to be, you look at, oh, well, in early September or in late October or late August, let's look who they beat. It's a completely different game in November than it is in August. And so I'm not, again, just not a huge fan of the rankings. That really is something that I struggle with. 812-393-2600 is the number. And Indiana, again, at 9-0. I just am so excited at everything that we've seen from this ball club, because it is every step of the way has been a marvel to watch. and you keep waiting, or at least I do, waiting for one of these flaws to pop up, and it's not happening. The Hoosiers win the old brass spittoon, which is no small thing at IU. I can tell you that the players really do love that trophy and love that they have that. Uh, it's one of those exciting things that they could uh, just build on and build this tradition on that we have. Again, 812-393-2600 is the number. Um, we have uh, some updated stats here of where Indiana is. They're averaging 46 and a half points a game and giving up 13.7 points a game. The Hoosiers are on pace to score 500 points this season. The fact that they've scored 32 touchdowns on the ground, 23 through the air. They have run 601 total plays this year and are averaging 7.1 yards a play. That's a jaw-dropping number. They've scored 57 touchdowns total this year. They've given up 15. Everything about this is just it's ridiculous. Justin Ellison now with 680 yards on the season. Tyson Lawton 463 yards on the season. Ellison has 9 touchdowns. Lawton has 9 touchdowns. It really is something else that just the job that they have done in terms of getting this is done has just really been extraordinary. 812-393-2600 is the number. I am also resetting my phone here to try to allow some things to work out here, just in case we have some kind of problem with that. So I'm hoping I'm able to start to get some calls. A little frustrated with this because it's saying that there's 11 blocked calls and I don't know what I did. That's unfortunate. It makes me sad. 812-393-2600. If you have a question, throw it in the chat. That would be absolutely fantastic. The Hoosiers are, again, 9-0 and just absolutely uh, dominating teams. And I'm excited. Again, you have hopefully we'll be able to. I'm not hopefully. I know we're going to have these call-in shows after basketball games as well. Uh, I'm excited for that as well because obviously the Hoosiers won both of their exhibition games, won them handily. That's very exciting. I haven't talked too much about basketball because every year this has been a situation where Indiana uh, has so much focus goes to the basketball program, and I really want to focus on football for the time being. And to me, that is what is key because the Hoosiers are have just been incredible, and they deserve the attention that they should have. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that we get this back in. Let's see here. I'm sorry, folks. I just feel so bad about this, about the guy that was accidentally banned. I feel bad about it, and I need the callers are the key to everything here. You guys are the key to everything. So I'll get that fixed up quickly, so that we could get back to some calls. 812-393-2600 is the number, and it's just so exciting. So exciting. 9-0 on the season. The Hoosiers a 47-10 win. And just looking again at the schedule going forward, strength of schedule and everything that goes along with it. You have an Indiana team that has no control over the schedule at this point, obviously, where you're 3/4 of the way through the season. But what you do have is control over what happens in the next game. And a couple weeks ago, after the Nebraska game, I did a show in which I was um, went through the whole hour without talking about Indiana being in first place, about their ranking, about their college football playoff opportunities. And to me, it's so exciting to go ahead and be able to start to turn and notice those kinds of things because this is a team that has again, it's going to be disappointing if they don't go 11-1, and that is absolutely amazing as far as I'm concerned because they have been um, just incredible. And you worry about what's going to happen along the way. I was worried about Curtis Rourke in this one and what his status was going to be. And he answered every question that we may have had by putting up some pretty good numbers. He was a little rough early, but again, if you look at what his numbers were along the way, he goes 19 of 29 passing. And in the first quarter, let's see here if I could break that down. I don't know that we can. Um, in that first quarter, he struggled to throw the ball. He was 3 of 6 in the first quarter for just 29 yards. Went through the first half. Throughout the first half, he was 11 of 16. So if you look at him, he bounced back by going 8 and 10 in the second, 8 of 10 in the second quarter, and the consistency. He had 5 incompletions in the first half, 5 incompletions in the second half. Uh, it has really been something to see. Just the consistency of this team has been very, very special. 812-393-2600 is the number. Please give me a call. And furthermore, if you give me a call and you don't get on, if you run into some kind of problem, let me know on the chat because I am very, concerned that I screwed something up here and want to be able to bring you the phone calls that we have. Jim says on the chat, South Carolina's up 14-0 in the first quarter over Texas A&M. So there's that. And all you could do as an IU football team is knock them down when they step up in front of you. And the Hoosiers have been able to do that to this point. And the exciting part is there's nobody who could look at Kurt Signetti on a sideline and think that he is in any way, shape, or form satisfied at what has happened this season. He is stepping on people's necks and getting the job done. And he seems to relish in it as well without being arrogant. I think he just wants to plant his pole that, hey, Indiana is here to stay, that they are here and they're going to get the job done. That's what he's looking at. So that's where we're at. We do have a caller now. Caller, if you give me your name, where you're from, and what you got.
And my name's John. I'm from Auburn. We drove up today for the game. They were very gracious. They knew that what was going to happen. They knew what was coming, and they welcomed everyone in for embrace. There was a beautiful day, and people kept us. I know you don't want to talk about basketball, so I just want to talk about Scott Burson. I'm great. He went out. He found a winner, a coach, and they gave him a lot of resources, and the guy's winning. And that's something Scott Burson should talk about with his other program. But thank you.
Well, if you do have a question about basketball, go ahead and knock yourself out. I'm okay with that. With talking about it a little bit if you want. Can you hear me on there? Well, let's talk about Scott Dolson and the job that he has done with this with the hiring of Kurt Signetti. Uh, I give Scott a ton of credit because the move to move on from Tom Allen was necessary. The stands showed us that last year. People were fed up with Tom Allen's lack of success. There was the massive buyout for Tom Allen. And so that was something that had to be dealt with. And you really had to make sure that you got this new hire right. And he obviously did. Scott Dolson obviously did. He identified who he wanted to be the head coach, went out and got him. And not only got him, but gave him the resources that he needed to be successful. Said, whatever you need, we'll take care of you with your coaching staff, your extra resources that you need. Really put a focus on NIL and everything that goes along with that. And it has played out. It has been absolutely successful. Now, you look at what might have to happen going forward. Already, a bunch of contract incentives have kicked in. Signetti's going to get paid by Indiana thanks to a bunch of uh, the incentives that have kicked in, and they will continue to kick in with each win along the way. And it helps him toward being National Coach of the Year and these kind of things. You got to give him a lot of credit. Scott Dolson has done a great job of making the hire and providing the resources that are needed to take Indiana to the next step. Now, obviously, it's going to be a focus of being able to turn a little bit toward just making sure that the standard is maintained in terms of doing what you can to hold on to coordinators. And if coordinators do end up getting poached, giving the resources needed to bring in top talent in that area. The fact that you have a coaching staff who has been together for so long has been absolutely huge this year. And so there's a lot of camaraderie there. There's a lot of attention that's going to be given to that group. And I just I'm just excited to see what it is that they're able to do. But right now, we're also focused on this season, and that is exciting. 812-393-2600 is the number. We got another caller on the line. Give me your name, where you're from, and what you got.
My name is Randy, and I'm from Greenville, Ohio, originally from Union City. And just wanted to talk a little bit today about the lack of injuries that Indiana has had this year. And Ken, do you believe that that could be contributed by, or at least semi-contributed by, the new strength and conditioning coach in his efforts in making the team stronger and faster?
Well, certainly Indiana has been fortunate of avoiding the injury bug to this point, knock on all the wood that you could possibly find. But, even the injury to Curtis Rourke, their surgery, he only has to miss a game. And that's another thing that's been different this year is that typically there's almost becomes a joke that the one player Indiana can't afford to be without ends up getting hurt and not like spraining an ankle a little bit, but going down with a torn ACL or some kind of other. I think of anybody that you want to bring up that was supposed to be Indiana's star, whether it is Darius Willis or Kellen Lewis or Michael Penix or Candon Doss or any of these guys over the years. You lose your guy that is going to be your star. A couple of years ago, it was Nate Sudfeld that got hurt, or it's Trey Roberson. It's just over and over and over again that people make jokes of Memorial Stadium is built on an Indian burial ground or something. But they've been able to stay remarkably healthy, and certainly part of it can be the strength and conditioning efforts that Indiana has had. Not that they've had terrible strength and conditioning year over year, because Dave Ballou and that crew ended up getting hired away to Alabama a few years ago. But yeah, Indiana has stayed remarkably healthy through what I believe is a mixture of luck and some better conditioning work as well.
Well, I tell you, it's really refreshing to be over here in Ohio, just across the border, and getting the attention now of Ohio State fans. So we're starting to gain and garner respect from them. Um, Up to this point, maybe a couple weeks ago, we were kind of an afterthought, but I think they're starting to take us pretty seriously now, and that's definitely very refreshing, especially around here when everybody's heavily focused on the Ohio State team. So great year. I'm really proud of the effort, and looking forward to next week.
Thanks so much for the call, Randy. Really appreciate it.
You betcha. Have a great week.
812-393-2600 is the number. Uh, he's right. I mean, look, it's going to be a great atmosphere with when Indiana travels to Ohio State in a couple of weeks. It's exciting that you have an Indiana team that's going to have 2 weeks to prep for Ohio State. It really it's. I don't think it's an accident that so many teams have had 2 weeks to prepare for Indiana because it seems that is a trend from the Big Ten in terms of their scheduling over the years that it really does seem like year over year over year, Indiana plays a lot of teams coming off a bye. And I've always felt that Indiana was treated as, hey, we give a team a bye and then they could ease back in by playing Indiana and then get back to it. And Indiana has taken care of business. You had 2 weeks to prep for Indiana. Indiana doesn't care. They have absolutely taken care of things. And this coaching staff is going to have every opportunity to put together a great game plan to take on Ohio State, but you can't overlook Michigan next week, obviously. And that should be an amazing atmosphere at Memorial Stadium, another sold out Memorial Stadium. We've come a long way in a very, very short amount of time, and it's been tremendously exciting. Wanted to mention something else about Indiana's offense, and it has to do with its receivers. They have done a great job. They dropped a couple balls today, which has been pretty rare. But think about the way Curtis Rourke distributes the ball on the field. It's really amazing. Elijah Surratt is Indiana's leading receiver. Through 9 games, he has 649 yards, 37 catches, 649 yards. This is not a team that if you shut down one receiver, you're platinum. Omar Cooper is second on the team with 21 catches and 74 yards. Miles Price is number 2 on the team in receptions with 28. Miles Cross with 25. Keyshawn Williams with 21. Zach Horton, 16 catches, 141 yards. 3 of those 16 catches have gone for touchdowns. So this is a IU team that you can't concentrate on anybody in the passing game. The offensive line has done a great job of protecting Curtis Rourke. The rushing attack has been fantastic because of the way that whether it's Justice Ellison or Tyson Lawton or Kalon Black, these guys all run. Even Elijah Green, we saw a little bit of him today. Uh, they've just done a great job of not only picking up yards, but picking up yards after contact. It's really been special to watch. And you have Justice Ellison with 680 yards, Tyson Lawton, 463 yards. You can't ask for anything more. And then you also talk about Curtis Rourke, who gets some Heisman Trophy attention, and as well he should. The kid is completing 73.3% of his passes on the year. He's 154 of 210 for 2,204 yards and 19 touchdowns versus just 3 interceptions. And those kind of numbers are just jaw dropping. They really, really are. And it is really, really something else to watch. Rourke is a tough kid. His poise has been incredible, and his poise is allowed to exist because Indiana's offensive line has done such a good job of protecting him. They've stayed healthy. Again, knock on wood for that. But Bob Bostad has done an absolute fantastic job with that offensive line. 812-393-2600 is the number. Last call for calls. We're going to be wrapping this up here shortly, but before we do wrap it up, I wanted to talk about Indiana's defense some more because we talk about the offensive line being great and doing a great job. Indiana's defensive line was absolutely monsters today, absolute monsters. For the game, Indiana with a total of 15 tackles for loss. 15. That is an amazing number. Mikhail Kamara, he's a guy, he had 7 total tackles, 4 solo stops, 2.5 sacks, 4.5 tackles for a loss, and a quarterback hurry. That's incredible. Absolutely incredible. You talk about interceptions. Um, you know, you have Amari Farrell. You had 2 interceptions on the day. He had 2 tackles that he helped out with. Got those 2 turnovers. It's just uh, they were in Michigan State's backfield all day. Absolutely all day. What just happened? that we have. It's great. I love it. It's easy to use, but it's not my favorite when it runs out of batteries in the middle of a show. So we're struggling over here somewhat. But the Hoosiers haven't been struggling, to say the least. And I appreciate everybody sticking around during the various problems that we've had today. So we're continuing to work on this. Only our ninth show. We're going to have a lot more with basketball shows starting up. So it's just been such an exciting time for IU football. They'll be favored against Michigan next week, and just the idea of going into a Michigan game and being thinking to yourself, I'm going to be really disappointed if Indiana doesn't end up winning this thing is really something else, and that is just amazing to me. It just really is. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up now. Indiana moves to 9-0 with an absolutely dominant performance on the road over Michigan State. The Hoosiers are left with Michigan, Ohio State, and Purdue. They'll be favored for sure in two of those three games. And remember when people said, yeah, Indiana's schedule gets a lot tougher in the back half, so be ready for that. Let me tell you something. Indiana has answered the call with that. And week over week over week, we have seen a situation where Indiana, every opponent that they face, people are like, oh, this is the week. Indiana, you know what? They've beaten UCLA and Charlotte, but boy, Maryland's going to give them trouble. No. Then they have to go on the road and take on a Northwestern team. No. Nebraska's defense is going to step up and absolutely shut Indiana. No. But Washington's going to be the challenge, a big one. You got game day, a lot of distractions. Washington, no. Going on the road and taking on Michigan State, no, this is an Indiana team that is together. And I've said it before, it is the best of times for Indiana fans because this is all house money. Indiana is at 9-0. It's going to be really exciting. A raucous place coming with Michigan coming to town next week. I'm excited, and I know that you should be too. 9-0. We'll see what the game time is for Michigan, but Indiana will be favored, and we'll see where they rank when they hit the field next week. Well, that's all the time we have on the Peegs podcast post game live. I want to thank you for listening. I want to remind you to visit Peegs.com for the very best in IU football and basketball coverage you're going to find anywhere. Nobody covers Hoosier recruiting better than Jeff Rabjohns, Trevor Andershock, Jared Kelly, and Matt Weaver. So come be a part of a thriving and exciting community at Peegs.com, folks. You are not going to be disappointed. Folks, we're out of time, but for now, and for Jeff, Matt, Trevor, and Jared, I'm Ken Bykoff saying thanks for listening, everybody.